And we're here, 99.3 Nigeria Info. If you are watching on Facebook, thank you for joining us. If you are not, please go to facebook.com/ Nigeria Info FM. The same thing goes for YouTube as well, Nigeria Info FM on YouTube. Now let's start with the Vanguard, page 8 of the Vanguard. NJCOK's probe of 3 judges for granting conflicting ex parte orders.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure all of you enjoyed GT Oguye on Saturday when he did an analysis of this. So where we are this morning, today being Tuesday, is that the National Judicial Council has okayed the probe, that the 3 judges that are involved are going to be probed for granting ex parte orders. Now, the word is probed, which means that part of what might also take place is looking at the accounts and see if there are some elements of corruption in it. They didn't say they were said to be probed. Probed means all in all, okay? And I hope it will be very thorough because we need to get rid of this monster. It says that the NJC will meet all heads of courts in the country and leadership of the NBA over the repeated abuse. It's going to the NJC is going to meet all heads of courts. Each of the CJs was separately quizzed personally by the CJN for over an hour. Now, remember that one of the senior advocates, I think it was Fashano, if I can remember very well, I think he was the one who said that, well, we need to be careful about how we go about this thing so it doesn't become a master-servant relationship. That was the import of what he said. That's the way I read it. Okay. But yesterday they were quizzed. And the CJN was said to have been visibly angry and warned chief judges to caution judges under them to desist from granting ex parte orders, especially on political matters. This is what he said. A damage to one jurisdiction is a damage to all. We must therefore put an end to indiscriminate granting of ex parte orders, conflicting judgments or ruling occasioned by forum shopping. Your jobs as head of court is a sacred one, and it therefore includes you vicariously taking the sins of others. There must be an end to this nonsense. You will henceforth take absolute charge in assigning cases or matters, especially political personally. We shall make example with these 3 judges, and never shall we condone such acts. So the CJN was talking tough there, and I think he's quite determined, to put an end to all this.
One thing I'm hopeful for is not just word of mouth. I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to give the judiciary full autonomy, because that's the genesis of all of this. The politicians are fond of dangling carrots in front of the judicial officers because they know that it's quite irresistible when you have that kind of resources at your disposal as the executive governor of the state. That's why most of them are not in for it. I mean, look at the conversation that you should be given autonomy. They're still there until judicial workers say that they want to go on strike again. That's when somebody will wake up and say, okay, yeah, where did we stop again?
Well, the honest to God truth is that a lot of these cases, not all, a lot of these cases are motivated by monetary considerations. We don't need to lie about that. I'm not talking about this case, but a lot of these cases, we know that judgment is bought in this country. Or let me put it this way: you have every chance to buy judgment from the moment, even the assignment of the case in itself. Sometimes that's where the process starts from. And many senior lawyers are involved in this. Many senior advocates are involved in this practice. We don't need to hide what the issue is. Autonomy is another thing entirely. In cases like this, usually there's some element of corruption. That's why I like the word probe. That probe means probe, and they're going to be probing their finances, probing the inflows and outflows on their accounts, and so on and so forth. It could get very messy. It could jolly well get messy. Some of them might start singing, and only God knows where this is going to end. But I'm happy at this development. This will serve as a warning to others. I wish there was a way we could even review the appointment of some of the judges, because it's quite clear that even that process has been compromised. It's been compromised by political considerations and what Nigerians on the street will call man, no man considerations too. So we have a real mess on our hands, but it's not any different from the rest of the country. So it's really a national problem.
It is.
That is now manifesting in the judiciary.
It is.
The political scene, we know what goes on off your mic and stuff like that. We know what goes on in the legislature. Now this.
And that's very critical. This is very critical.
It is.
Very, very critical.
Because this is the last hope. Because we can't even turn to God, because a lot of the messengers of God are not any better themselves. So...
Let's go pick up the Punch, page 29 of the Punch. Stop preferential cut-off marks for Northerners, El-Rufai tells Jam.
El-Rufai is about 30 years late, because this had been, it's not even just Jam. In my own time, when we didn't do Jam, we did direct entry. You had to have your 3A levels, but there was prelim. In the prelim examples, there were also considerations for the North. And what it was, I think the thinking then was that, okay, the North was backward in education, which for me was a shot in the leg. Because what it meant is that you put your mediocre, the mediocre ones forward, slapped them with degrees, and in reality they can't function properly. So it's a big relief to hear. And then, of course, they just go join the federal service, end up becoming permanent secretaries and so on and so forth. So I'm glad that people like El-Rufai have wisened up to it. That let's make these things competitive. Don't let's give excuses. Let's make this thing competitive so that even the Northerners will be at par intellectually. I mean, there's nothing wrong in their brains. Why not lay emphasis on making sure? And El-Rufai is Northerner is absolutely brilliant. Oh, loads of them, Sanusi, loads of them, absolutely brilliant. But I'm glad he said this, because again, it has been a saw in the leg that we've covered with socks and very fine shoes. When we were, during our own time, I don't know, I'm not in school anymore, but, it was like, here you were, you got A or B marks, and here's a man with an E sitting side by side with you.
Yep.
It went all the way up, down the line, up to the employment and so on and so forth. And this is what El-Rufai said. It was on Channels yesterday that he said it, on Sunrise Daily. He said that the North has always been behind in education. We've continuously been the disadvantaged region right from the independence, even though we're giving preferences, jam scores and all that. That has not helped. I'm glad he admits that. What would have helped, of course, is to pay more attention to the education of the masses. But I think those who were in charge of the North way back then were satisfied in just keeping their fingers permanently in the cookie jar and make sure that the masses were not educated enough to challenge the status quo. I think that's what it was. But times are changing now. And then he says that I think people should be encouraged to work hard and compete. And we are prepared to make our children in Kaduna State to be competitive, not in the state, but globally. Not in the state, but globally. You might say all kind of things about El-Rufai, okay, but I admire him. He's a brilliant fellow. You might not agree with some of the things that he does, but he's an absolutely brilliant person. And El-Rufai, his children, the last I heard, went to public schools, so he can use that as a measuring rod to find, to make sure that education is on the up. Education is key. Awolowo, he identified that very early. And his belief, Awolowo's belief, I think, if I remember, was that the more educated people are, the easier it is to supervise or rule them, because they will understand the issues.
Yep.
But a lot of our political elites, they believe that keep them ignorant, let's send our own kids to Cambridge and Oxford so that they will always be masters over them. But now they've been proven wrong. The irony is that the opportunity that Awolowo created way back then for people of the Southwest, a lot of the Southwest elites are now, in an underground manner, stalling education, the growth of education, those of them who are in power. So it's a funny thing. It's like, okay, I've escaped, you must stay there. So they're stifling things, but not putting a premium on education that they took advantage of. And I think it's very, very unfortunate.
It's quite unfortunate.
Let us make sure that if anything at all our leaders put a premium on education. I wish we could pass a law that would say nobody should send his child, but you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. It's not possible. Forget that. I've seen it being touted before. It's just not possible. But let's all make sure that we put a premium on education, and believe you me, we might find life a little bit easier to handle.
Alaba on Facebook says Nigeria needs radical leader like Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna, if possible, to pair him with Zulum for the presidential candidates from South West in 2023. Nigeria will be far better under them. Alaba from Ojo sent that in.
Is he advocating an El-Rufai presidency?
Kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Neither would I mind a Sanusi one either. I mean, if we had to pick somebody from the north, those two, I wouldn't mind at all. I wouldn't mind at all. You see, people who say knowledge is power know what they are talking about. When you are knowledgeable and your mind will be open, you will understand issues beyond your own parochial interests. You will know that life doesn't bubble just around you. It's a larger bubble than you imagine. And the more people like you in this bubble, the easier it will be for you to live a fruitful life. But a fruitful life varies from person to person. A fruitful life from A could be to stack millions up in a warehouse and live in poverty, not lack of money, but poverty of the mind. A fruitful life for me is for you to endanger things that would bring peace into your life, and that's it. Education, knowledge, peace into your life.
That's right. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. If you like to watch and drop a comment, go to those platforms. Search for Nigeria Info FM on the Super Apps Online. Join us there. Others are there already, dropping their comments. We're going to go to page 16 of the Punch. I thought COVID-19 was no longer a serious threat.
This is a beautiful piece written by my good friend Azukan Woka. If I haven't seen him for a while, I need to invite him here one of these weekdays on Daily Digest. Brilliant. It's a brilliant interview. Brilliant piece. And I'd like, you to make out time to read it. The headline is, I thought COVID-19 was no longer a serious threat. He starts with, by saying that he lost people close to him to COVID-19. He says that they were healthy and active people. A few went into the intensive care unit, but they were lucky to survive. They all had similar symptoms. They were ill and treated themselves for malaria or typhoid fever. They didn't get better. They felt weak. They had some difficulty in breathing. They were taken to hospital, and it goes on and on. He says before you could be accepted into the isolation centers or the ICU, it was very difficult. The usual response was no space. It was only after someone who knew somebody was contacted that space appeared for the patients. And he also says that private hospitals are not any different. He says in Nigeria lingo, their own attitude is money for hand, back for ground.
Yes, sir.
They asked for a deposit of between 7 million and 15 million before they could even admit the patient. That is true. Some top-notch hospitals, you tell them the patient has COVID. Imagine, he now says this, and I want you at home to imagine this. Imagine having your relative gasping for breath by 11 p.m. and being told by the government hospital there is no space to admit the person, or being told by a private hospital at 11 p.m. that you must pay about 10 million before they can admit the person. Imagine if you have nobody to contact to help you open the gate of Nigerian medical heaven, or you don't have such an amount to transfer to a hospital at such a time your loved one to be admitted. Anyway, the thrust of the article is to again warn us about the danger of COVID. This frightened me when I read this. I knew, but it still frightened me. But don't worry, don't get frightened.
I'm good.
I am here.
What?
Brother, I'm Bibai.
Why? How?
I will take care of you.
No. I want to find out how does your being here stop COVID?
May God not let me prove that. Just say amen first.
No, I'm vaccinated, so I don't have to answer that.
It's not. I'm your guardian angel. Say amen. The sad angle to the Delta variant is the quick way patients die. That's what frightened me.
Very quick.
Once a person can no longer breathe well or the oxygen level has dropped to below 50, it is said that the lungs are filled with fluid, but the person does not get good medical care or access to a ventilator. Death usually follows. All this usually happens within 2 or 3 days of the condition getting worse. He was sadly, when he went to the east, he found that nobody was wearing masks at the event that he went, and that even the master of ceremony was making fun of the
ones wearing masks.
See, all said and done, find time to read this article. My final word on this is just this. I'd rather die of the vaccination than die of COVID. You have to choose one. You have to choose one. Go and get yourself. I have very, very close friends who are in denial. And I said that I keep praying for them every morning that I don't end up proving them right. I look at the logic of it. What are you basing your argument on that you don't want to take this COVID? All kinds of conspiracies. Bill Gates is the devil. But if the whole world is going right, and you and the minority are going left, even if the whole world die of the vaccine, would life be worth living for you? Why not follow it? So I've said those who are there are some that are very stubborn. Extremely stubborn, and they keep putting up argument and sending you literature to justify their position. They don't know that the world is full of all kinds of pranksters.
Yep.
Read foreign papers and see the kind of people that are dying. Some of the
conspiracy theories.
They're
the ones dying.
At the last minute, one was crying that they should give him a vaccine. They told him, "Oga, vaccines don't cure; they prevent."
Yeah.
For the argument for the umpteenth time that if you take the vaccine, you will have COVID anyway. The answer is yes. The vaccine doesn't prevent you from catching COVID. To use the Nigerian catching COVID, I don't know if that's right. What it does is that if you do come in contact with COVID, it will help suppress it so that you don't get to the point where you'll end up dying. That's what it does. That is what it does. So don't just send that it doesn't cure COVID in I've seen all kinds of literature making the rounds. I plead with people not to irritate me by sending me these things. If you don't want to take keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
But remember, keep it to yourself. But if you have teenage children who are grown, make sure they take it. Or if they have a choice, let them take it. You are putting your life and other. It's a very selfish thought. If you have the opportunity and you don't take it because you are putting both your life and people around you, you're putting it at risk. A word again is enough for the wise.
Someone on YouTube, where we're streaming live, says, my friend deposited 4 million naira before he was admitted in a private hospital. My uncle didn't have that luxury. Was the oxygen, and after 2 days he died and was buried just last Thursday.
Even at the government ICU now, you pay for oxygen under the table. You can jolly well avoid it. Do the needful. Wear your mask in public. Keep your hands clean, and if you have the opportunity, go for the vaccine. It is a sin that God will provide that opportunity for you and you won't take it. It's like committing suicide.
I mean, it's right there.
It's right there.
Just go get it. Exactly.
Very soon he will take it. look at his face.
So he hasn't taken it
yet? We're in the final stages.
Okay. Good. You should.
Well,
let's go to Vanguard. Let's go back to Vanguard. VAT FIRS loses. Lagos joins tax war as Rivers digs in.
Honestly, this is like some kind of revolution, and I'm excited at it.
It's exciting, actually.
It's quite exciting, and because of all the security issues we have, the what is happening now is federal government collects VAT, but by a court order. Rightly so, I think states, the law has now said that it is states that should be collecting VAT. So you collect what is consumed. The argument has been, for example, that if you VAT my bottle of beer that I drink in the south, in the north where I can't drink beer in public, they shouldn't be getting the benefits of that VAT. I mean, that's the simplistic.
It actually makes no sense.
That's the simplistic way to look at it. But anyway, a court order has now said that VAT should be collected by the state. So far, I think the federal government will appeal further. It even says here FIRS to appeal further. Okay, but if at the end of the day, if the final court says states should collect, what it means is, oh my God, much more revenue for the states, and this is the way to go. In what do they call this thing now? This is the way to go in what's this political name?
True federalism.
No, apart from true, yes, or that famous word,
Restructuring.
This is the way to go. I like things that are done in a systematic manner and not just barking like a dog. You understand? Once this happens, I hope that all our political whatever would go through this kind of process. Painstakingly, they went through the court.
Yeah.
And if the final court says that is what it is, oh, beautiful. More revenue for the states. And for you politicians, more money to put in your pocket. But hopefully, you leave a manageable balance for us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Lagos State have now joined the tax war. And as I yesterday, Wike addressed his state to say that he's ready to collect.
That's right.
VAT.
We'll be having that conversation at 8 o'clock, just in
good.
about 7 minutes. We'll be speaking with a tax expert from Pricewaterhouse. Yeah. So
that's very good.
They'll be joining us at 8 o'clock for that conversation.
I'll listen into that.
It's quite exciting, really. Lagos 1,000 celebrities partner on war against drug abuse.
Well, what the Lagos State is trying to do here is noble. They're getting 1,000 celebrities to serve as role models that they can work with to partner on war against drug abuse. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a very good attempt. But the major problem is that it is the elders that are setting the worst examples these days of these things that these boys follow. Now, even our elders celebrate gangsterism. They celebrate all, some of these vices publicly. And they don't know that that is what instigates these young kids. It's not until you put a wrap of jerugbe in your mouth in public and light it or you're sniffing it in public. No. What you have done, how do I mean that a lot of our elite, you exhibit wealth that people know visibly that you really can't account for. These little things, these vices, is what goes all the way down to the young people. So whilst I agree and I'm happy that the Lagos State is doing this once, and they better pick those celebrities carefully. While I agree with that.
What do you mean by that?
No, they should pick the celebrities carefully. I mean, that's...
You mean some of them do this thing?
I didn't say some of them. I just said they should pick them carefully.
No, I'm just saying why carefully.
Even when you want to take even this mic, did you not handle it carefully?
Well, it's
even talking to me. You're picking your words. Talking to me, you're picking your words carefully.
No, but I'm not. I'm just asking you, like, why do you suppose that they use these things?
It is not from my mouth. They should figure, but most importantly, the governor needs to talk to the elite and the political class to put up better behavior for these kids to follow. It's very, very important.
Quite important. Let's go to Vanguard. Page 13. Nnamdi Kanu, sit at home, threatens economy of Southeast Umahi.
Well, I'd like to appeal to IPOB to see if they can do something about this sit at home.
But they've suspended it.
They have suspended it, but I think that most people are actually afraid to come out.
Yes, they are.
On those days. And I think they need to go on a campaign to encourage activity. You don't shoot yourself in the leg on things like this. I understand the process, the protest and what's behind it. But sitting at home repeatedly over time is going to do more damage. Than achieve their goal. So please, I'd like to appeal to them to please get people to come out. And this one says that residents lament it at home in Umahia. A lot of us live on daily stipends, really and truly. We live on daily stipends. A lot of people live on daily stipends. So they have been at home on Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, 3 days in a week. Okay? And yesterday, miscreants thought a truckload of motorcycle spare parts in Enugu that dared to come out, I think. They set fire to it. And the other story here, of course, is that Kanu's lawyer slams a 50 million suit against DSS over a red lights violation.
We have to go.
Oh, we have to go.
Yep.
I was wondering what was happening. I was engrossed in what I was reading.
We must go now. We must go. But what's coming up at 9?
At 9, I have a very experienced advertising practitioner in terms of copy, Nkoli Obi.
Okay.
Nkoli Obi, Ogbolu. I used to know her in school as Nkoli Obi.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about managing government information, how these things will manage. I was happy when I saw that Femi Adesina posted some achievements of the Buhari government last week. I think it was last week, Friday or so.
Yeah.
When they wrote, and I was surprised at some of the things that had been achieved. But be that as it may, I think the core issue for judging Buhari going forward, believe you me, would not be infrastructural development, but defense,
security,
and the economy. Those are the two measures.
All right.
So how to handle that process, Nobody will tell us.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm Sheriff Quadry. Let's take a break and we'll be right back with the news.
Mommy, when is Aunt Valerie coming again?
So you can seize her phone again, Abby?
Watching cartoons on her phone.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
You go MTN.